prior to coming on this program, when people used to ask me what religion I was, usually I would say I'm technically Jewish, but I'm not like a believer. And after this program, I don't know if I am necessarily a believer or where God fits in yet. I'm gonna have to think about that. But this has absolutely reawakened my Jewish identity and my desire a very real desire for this not to be the end I just want to absolutely pursue on in many ways. Just every time I think about going home and this being the end, I just know it can't be. So, that's essentially the most important part for me.
I really felt that I discovered a new part of myself on this trip. And also, I really feel like I can call Israel home now. So it's nice to know that I can come here and I don't feel like an outsider visiting another country. I really feel that this is another place where I belong. Something that really stuck out to me on the trip was the Holocaust Museum, just because it was something that I've really experienced before. I've been to other types of museums, but the way that it was portrayed or shown to us, it shows a whole different side, and you feel like you're a part of it just because it takes you through chronologically what happened before, what was during, and then what happened after. And at the Children's Memorial, I just got really emotional. I probably can't talk about it that much without getting upset, but it just made me thankful that my cousin had people around him, and I got really upset thinking that these children were scared and hungry and terrified and separated from their parents. So it just makes me thankful that he had that, my cousin, or didn't have that. He had family and was surrounded by people who cared about him.
What was really interesting for me was being around people and being in places where I didn't stick out. And I guess I never realized that when I was in America and growing up, that it was obvious that I was different from other people and that there were constant reminders everywhere of how I was different. But it's something that almost immediately I felt being with you guys, and especially being with the Israeli participants too, that I really felt like I belonged with this group of people, and I didn't constantly have to explain myself in every way that I was different from the norm. So that was really powerful for me.
Just to preface one thing, I actually have autism, so it is very hard at times for me to really get very social with people, and I've had to fight with this issue my whole life. So the bubbly type of person you see in front of you, it's not really easy being that type of person, but I do it because that's what I feel is the best way to be Jared. I don't want to be a loner and whatnot. So that aside, my big thing was being bar mitzvahed again. The opportunity to actually have a aliyah and have a small portion of the Torah in the shadow of where my ancestors came, and when it was a full temple, it literally touched me, and I think that alone just was the most spiritual part. And I think looking forward, before, Israel was nothing more than just a country. Right now, I'm more connected that I feel like I want to come back, not only just to come back, but to stay. So, yeah.
Absolute blessing just to be able to come on this trip. Like I shared with you guys earlier, my brother and I didn't find out about our heritage until about 3.5, 4 years ago. So being Jewish was something that was very foreign to me. We grew up going to church on Sunday and being baptized. So that's the culture that my brother and I were raised in. So it was such a blessing to come here and to connect with other Jewish people and be able to experience the culture in the land where it was birthed. And it was so great just to make connections with you guys. There's not that many Jews in Maine and Vermont where I go to school, so it's so wonderful that I can take these friendships home and hopefully continue them. Oh, so I love the desert. I love the fact that we sat underneath the stars, and it just made me think of Genesis, where Abraham is promised by God that his descendants will be as numerous as the stars, and I just thought, like, this is us thousands of years later here. And also just being bar mitzvah is so special.
Wow, all of you really like impacted me. Just kind of talking to you guys, hearing what you guys do in the United States, and just kind of just here, just kind of talking to you, like going over stuff. That's definitely really impacted me. But I just thought this was going to be a normal, just trip vacation for me. But it's definitely more than that. I've just been kind of like sitting here, hearing your guys' story, just kind of going over what they all been trying to, like, I don't know, tell us, just try and connect the dots. First of all, I've learned a lot about Judaism. As you know, my sister and I grew up Christian and stuff. But just going over all the places, I feel like what I learned from you, all was there's a lot of impossibles that a lot of people put a lot of time and effort into that made it possible for this nation to be a nation. Even if it's not, if those people, if they don't agree on it, they still do it. I just feel like we might not all agree with each other, but we all can learn. Community is so important, to me at least. I just feel like you've impacted me a lot, Jeff, and everything. But yeah, just the community just really just touched my heart in such like a great way. I'd like to do more when I get back to the United States and stuff. Just go in the community and help out.
I grew up in a place that was very, very difficult to be different and on the outside. Sorry, I always cry. I apologize. But being here was like, my parents never allowed us to be Jewish. And I think my grandparents were really proud that I was here. I'm sorry. Can y'all just come back to me? Sorry. Yeah, it was just very difficult growing up where I did, and to come here and to see everything, just the entire experience, like every activity seemed to be right. Especially just the time that we spent in Jerusalem. It felt like it wasn't next year in Jerusalem, it was finally this year in Jerusalem.
The most powerful thing, learning about the culture through the individuals that we met along the way. And it kind of started, it was either the first or the second night when you started telling us about your personal experiences in the Army. And that was when I sort of realized that that was how I was going to connect the most, when I would hear individual stories. And it sort of progressed throughout the trip. It went from that to speaking with the kids in the garden, and then, when the soldiers came, I think those were some of the most interesting conversations I've ever had in my life. I mean, just hearing their personal stories and seeing what it's like to live here through people who are our contemporaries. I mean, they're really just like us. They're the same age as us. They're so similar to us in so many ways, and then so different in other ways. And I thought that was really, really interesting. So I think that is what I'm gonna take away for sure.
I was one of those people who's like, yeah, I'm kind of Jewish, but throughout this trip I've realized what it means to actually be Jewish, and I've embraced it, and I really feel as if, yes, I am Jewish and I'm proud of it, and I feel that this is a really strong community, and definitely grown a lot. So one of my One of my favorite parts, the most memorable parts for me was also the bat mitzvah and also having the soldiers with us throughout this trip. It's been great learning what it actually is to live here in Israel and, from people who are our age.
I've heard about Birthright for a while, like through temple and family and friends. So I've been looking forward to this for a very long time, and just want to get something off my chest. The day before leaving to meet you guys in Philadelphia, I got in a car accident, and I almost didn't make it here. I just almost didn't even want to come, but I'm really glad I did, because I learned a lot from everybody, and talking to the soldiers about how passionate they are about what they believe in, and learning about Shabbat, and not taking time for granted. It just meant a lot to me, so thanks.
This experience is so important, and for all of us, not just as Jews or getting in touch with our Jewish identity, but just as human beings on this earth. Like, it's so important to know and learn about and understand and experience what goes on in this part of the world. And I can't believe I was afforded that experience. Like, I never in a million years thought I would be able to come here and see firsthand. And I can't imagine doing that without this group, or like a group of people that are all doing this together, and then meeting, people who live here and sharing those experiences was really amazing. I think I was just like totally blown away by the diversity of the programming. Just one day learning, hearing personal stories, and then hearing very informational history, seeing films, going to cemeteries, being in Lode with those children, like those high school students, was unbelievable. So I think just the diversity of everything we did just like totally blew my mind, and I'm so grateful for it.
The entire time we've been here, I think I've said it like 10 times every day. Hey, we're in Israel. Like, can you believe this? We're still in Israel. This is amazing. I thought a lot about Dayenu, and like the idea of it would have been enough. Like, it would have been enough to get like a free plane flight to Israel. Like, it would have been enough to see Ayal give that speech dressed as William Wallace today. It would have been enough to meet all these fantastic people. It would have been enough for any little bit of those things. For me, what I got out of this program was not so much Jewish identity, because I have that. It was a better understanding of the history and where I come from that I never really knew and I never really learned. And learning it here, being able to like touch things and feel things and look at things maybe the same way that they were looked at 2,000 years ago was constantly mind-blowing.
I think this experience was just something that I was really looking forward to. I didn't really know how I was going to feel once I got here. And once I got here, I met everybody, and everybody was just so nice. It was just easy to talk to everybody and experience things together. And just going around to different places. My favorite place was the Western Wall. I pretty much, I know it's gonna sound corny, but I felt like something woke up inside of me. Something that I felt like I had forgotten about for a really long time. And this trip has made me just, as soon as I get home, I wanna go find other Jewish people in my community. I wanna go to temple. I wanna relive what I did here, and I don't wanna lose what I had already, and I don't wanna lose my faith again.